Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with the Coach, fueled by Dunkin. I'm Jeff Lemieux, alongside New England Revolution sporting director and head coach Bruce Arena. Even here inside the MLS bubble, we are repping Dunkin. Bruce, you've had the opportunity to be here in Orlando now inside the bubble for a few days, kind of get a lay of the land. What have been your thoughts on the setup?
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, I've been to Disney before. It's an interesting setup. Not all the teams are in yet, so we haven't mixed up with a whole lot of people. But the most obvious issue here with everyone is the heat and humidity.
I know that's one of the challenges of this competition, and there are so many different scenarios that you have coached in throughout your career, but how different is this compared to anything else you've ever experienced?
Well, it's certainly different. You know, I think the biggest factor is the heat and humidity. The other issue with this whole thing is that we have 26 teams together that haven't played a real game in about 4 months. So there's going to be a lot of unknowns as we enter the competition. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I know those unknowns, those challenges, they're there for the players, they're there for the coaches. As a coach, I guess, how do you kind of approach those challenges and take them all in ahead of this competition?
Well, we just prepare our team the best we can, both tactically and dealing with this climate. We'll have about a week in Orlando before we play our first game. So our guys are going to get strong hints about the conditions that they're playing in. So by game time, it should be pretty obvious, and hopefully we can have a good understanding of how we need to play over 90 minutes.
I know one of the things that will help with the climate is having 5 substitutions available, and that was largely implemented because of the physical toll that it'll take on guys. But tactically, how could that play a role in this competition?
Well, I'm not sure it plays much of a role tactically as much as it does just dealing with the physical component of the game. You're going to see the games are going to be very slow. And I would suspect that players after 60 minutes are going to need a break. And our job is to determine the best 6, 7, 8 players that can stay in the game for 90 minutes and how we make those changes. So there's going to be some unknowns. It'll be unusual. I think you'll see during the tournament that there'll be changes in back lines of teams because you have 5 changes. So it's possible you'll do that. Very rarely do you change a back line. But I think tactically, if you want to call it tactics, there's going to be changes in every position on the field.
The good news is right now you have a largely healthy squad. That includes Carla Steele, who had missed the first couple games of the season. How important has the last month been for him, not just in terms of getting fit, but in forming some of those relationships with some of the newer teammates?
Well, it's been good. He's a very good player. He has a very good understanding of the game and his teammates. So when he came back on a full-time basis, it wasn't a real difficult job in integrating him with the team.
I know some of your players have said that they think your experience in World Cups helps in this competition. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, I would largely disagree with that. This isn't the World Cup, believe me. It's not being shown globally and with the best players in the world. Not to discredit anything we're doing here, but it's not a World Cup.
You do kick off the group stage on Thursday night against the Montreal Impact, and in a competition like this, which you do have some experience in, what's the importance of that first group stage game to kind of get yourself set up?
Well, it's really important. I think the goal of every team in an opening game and group play is to get a result. So that's certainly what we're going to focus on. And it's important. If you don't get points in your first game, you're really scrambling to get points in, obviously, the second game. And if you don't do that in the second game, you're usually out of the competition.
And leading the Impact on the other bench, it's Thierry Henry, who's still relatively young in his managerial career, but obviously a legendary player. What's kind of the respect level like between you and
I have
Thierry
a lot
Henry?
of respect, and I'm very pleased that he's not playing.
Think he's still got it?
He probably could do it right, stepping on the field. I saw him this week, and he looks like he could still hang in there.
It has been so long since the players have had an opportunity to get on the field. It's been a long, stressful wait. So these last couple of days, what's kind of your message to the guys as they're going to have an opportunity to finally get out there?
Well, they're eager to play. This is an easy competition to get a team ready for because, as you've stated, they've been away from competition for a long time. So they're really eager to get on the field. And the interesting part to us is we're playing a team we've already played, which is probably one of the first in this tournament. I haven't looked at all the games and all, but I don't think too many teams have played each other that are playing in the opening games of group play. So we have a chance to play against an opponent we're familiar with.
Yeah, even though that game was 4 months ago and the circumstances are different, how much of a factor does that play, but also how different are the circumstances?
Well, it's very different. We played in probably one of the worst facilities in the world to play a soccer game, and playing in Montreal in February on a field that was literally cement, and really challenging. And that whole trip was crazy. We were delayed because of the snow in Montreal, and it was one of those MLS kind of games and weeks you have where not too many things went right before you stepped on the field to play. So that was an interesting game to play, and again, oddly enough, it's going to be the same thing this time around. It's going to be really a lot of unknowns because the two teams are going to be facing each other again in conditions that are almost 180 degrees different from the last time. So again, as I've said, when they roll the ball out, we got to be ready to play, and hopefully it's better than the last time.
All right, well, Bruce, thanks so much for taking the time. Best of luck on Thursday night against Montreal.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you next week ahead of that second group stage game against DC. For now, thanks for watching Coffee with the Coach, fueled by Dunkin.